Hi everyone, this is Nayanita Saikia along with my four presentators Shamana Mishra, Gaurav Nath, Rishabh Bora and Vikas Wargiari. Here we will be throwing some light on the topic fermented cell based products and their microbial aspects. Now, the first point that comes to our mind while talking about this topic is what is fermentation. Fermentation is any microbial process in which microorganisms' activity creates a desirable, desirable change in food and beverages, whether it's increasing flavor, preserving foodstuffs, providing health benefits, or more. The word ferment comes from the Latin verb ferve, which means to boil. Ironically, fermentation is possible without heat. Now, what is the science behind the fermentation process? Let us discuss this. Microorganisms survive using carbohydrates for energy and fuel. Organic chemicals like adenosine triphosphate deliver that energy to every part of the cell when needed. Microbes generate ATP using respiration. Aerobic respiration, which requires oxygen, is the most effective way to do that. Aerobic respiration begins with glycolysis, where glucose is converted into pyruvic acid. When there is enough oxygen present, aerobic respiration occurs. Fermentation is similar to anaerobic respiration, the kind that takes place when there is not enough oxygen present. However, fermentation leads to the production of defined organic molecules like lactic acid, which also leads to ATP, unlike respiration, which uses pyruvic acid. Depending upon environmental conditions, individual cells and microbes have the ability to switch between the two different modes of energy production. Organisms commonly obtain energy anaerobically through fermentation, but some systems use sulfate as the final electron acceptor in the electron transport chain. Now let us discuss about the occurrence that takes place during the fermentation process. During the fermentation process, these beneficial microbes breaks down sugars and starch into alcohol and acids, making food more nutritious and preserving it so people can store it for longer period of time without it spoiling. Fermentation products provide enzymes necessary for digestion. This is important because humans are born with a finite number of enzymes and they decreases with ages. Fermented food contains the enzymes required to break them down. Fermentation also aids in predigestion. Now, let us discuss the importance of fermentation in food industries. First of all, the process of fermentation destroys many of the harmful organisms and chemicals in food and aids beneficial bacteria. These bacteria produce new enzymes to assist in the digestion food. That benefits from fermentation are soy products, dairy products, grains, and some vegetables. Fermented foods are rich in probiotics, beneficial microorganisms that help maintain a healthy gut so it can extract nutrients from food. Probiotic aids the immune system because the gut products antibiotic, anti-tumor, antiviral, and antifungal substances, and pathogens do not do well in the acidic environment fermented food creates. Fermentation can increase the vitamins and minerals in food and make them more available for absorption. Fermentation increases B and C vitamins and enhances folic acid, riboflavin, niacin, thiacin, and biotin. The probiotics, enzymes, and lactic acids in fermented food facilitate the absorption of these vitamins and minerals into the body. Fermentation also helps neutralize anti-nutrients like pythic acid, which occurs in grains, nuts, seeds, and legumes and can cause mineral deficiencies. Now let us see the three distinct types of fermentation. They are lactic acid fermentation, ethanol fermentation, and acetic acid fermentation. Now there are stages of fermentation. They are primary fermentation and secondary fermentation. Lastly, let us see the six tips for starting fermentation. They are Establish your starter culture. Keep your equipments clean. Avoid explosion. Then comes to prevent fermenting foods from coming into contact with air. We can submerge it into salt solution. Nextly, storage. And then comes the fermentation method. Now the next part will be taken further by Shramana Mishra.
Thank you, Nainita. Now, as we all know that there are 9 classes of fermented foods depending on raw materials, that are beverages, cereals, dairy, fish, fruits and vegetables, legume, meat, starch, miscellaneous, which involves vinegar and pickled mushroom. Now, we will be talking about the nutritional aspects of the cereal based fermented foods. The first thing that jumps up into our mind is the impact on food safety and shelf life extension. Fermenting microorganisms employed to generate new products with improved nutritional qualities often produces various metabolites that inhibit the growth of spoilage and pathogenic bacteria. These metabolites include organic acids such as lactic acid, propanoic acid, acetic acid that decreases the initial pH value, creating an acidic environment in the food matrix and therefore extending the shelf life of the fermented products. Now, there is also an increase in protein and carbohydrate digestibility, and there is a modification in the dietary fibers also. Cereals have its own vitamins contents, we know, but the ability of lab to produce vitamins is strain specific, and this could be used as starter culture to fortify naturally fermented products for targeted nutritional and quality improvement. Then we have the phenolic components. Phenolic components are basically the secondary plant metabolites. They have anti-diabetic, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antioxidant, as well as neurocardio hepatoprotective functions. Fermentation also enhances this antioxidant oxidant activity of these phenolic fractions. Now, probiotic carriers. Now, probiotics are majorly related to dairy products, while cereals also contain some of the probiotic components. Under standardized production conditions and variances of these types and quality of raw materials complicates the procedure of identifying and studying the potential probiotic features of the strains. Now, moving on, we have some cereal based food materials, as we can see, that is boza, braga, dosa, hamnato, injera, koji, otika, toko also, which are from various regions like Albania, Turkey, Romania, Japan, India as well. And we also have certain microorganisms like Lactobacillus, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, lactic acid bacteria, Leuconostoid mesenteroids, Streptococcus. All these also take part in the fermentation of such products. We also have certain more products, basically those are beverages and cake, even pancake like consistency as well are there. Some are soupy in nature. Okay, now moving on, we have indigenous rice based fermented foods, which involves idli, dosa, dhokla, traditional wheat-based fermented foods like soy sauce, keshtar hana, traditional corn-based fermented foods which consist of OG, kenke, pozol, traditional sorghum-based fermented foods which is injera kisra, traditional cereal-based foods like sake, beer, boza, chicha, maheyu, new cereal-based probiotic foods are also there, which is yosa. Now we have flow chart for the preparation of pozol. The basically corn is boiled in water containing calcium hydroxide, which is called nixtamalization. Now, nixtamalization is basically done to remove aflatoxin from mycotoxin contaminated corn to increase the health benefits of the product. Then it is grinded to obtain a dough, and the dough are shaped into balls and enveloped with the banana leaves, and it is allowed to ferment for 1 to 14 days, and our pozol is ready. Pozol is basically a Mexican dish, and we ferment it with the help of the lactic acid bacteria.
Now I will explain about the indigenous rice-based fermented foods. The first one is idli production. The raw material for idli are black gram dal or white polished rice. It is soaked for 5 to 10 hours. It is finely ground or coarsely ground in a mortar. The slurry is combined into a thick batter and mixed well. Salt is added for seasoning. It is incubated overnight in a warm place for about 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. The batter is poured into small cups in idli cooker. It is steamed for 10 minutes and ready for consumption. Microflora associated with fermentation. Fermentation is carried out by microorganisms developing during the initial stage. Both bacteria and yeast play an important role in fermentation. Bacteria which are associated are Lactobacillus delbrueckii or Lactobacillus fermentum, etc. Yeast associated with these are Saccharomyces cerevisiae or Torvulipis candida, etc. Gram dal is an effective substrate of maximum number of fermented organisms. It is rich in nutrients and that supports growth of lactic acid. The role of lactic acid is to reduce the pH level to 4.4 to 4.5. Biochemical changes. Two major changes occur here, leaving and acidification. The process of leaving helps the batter to increase its volume. In acidification, lactic acid is produced. During fermentation, idli batter increase to about 1.6 to 3.1 times of original volume. pH value decreases from 6 to between 4.3 to 5.3. The level of soluble nitrogen and free amino acid get increased. Here you can see a graph of fermentation versus acidity and pH value. Benefits of idli consumption. Idli is nourishing and can be easily digested. Fermentation improves nutritional and digestible value of rice and gram dal. Dosa production. Here also black gram dal or white polished rice is used. It is washed and soaked for 5 to 6 hours. It grind finely into smooth or grind finely into smooth batter. Both the mixture is combined. GBWF and a little salt is added and mixed well. It is left for fermentation overnight. And then preheat and apply oil on a pan. Then pour the batter and spread roast until it becomes brown. And then it is ready for consumption. Immune boosting good bacteria in idli and dosa. Several studies have isolated a variety of lactobacillus strains from idli and dosa. These bacteria exert antimicrobial and antifungal properties. The production of lactic acid from these bacteria inhibits the growth of pathogens such as B. cereus and S. aureus, etc. Current research is focusing on investigation of benefits from lactic acid bacteria. Dokla production. Dokla is similar to idli except of Bengal gram dal is used instead of black gram dal. Bengal gram dal or white polished rice is soaked for 4 to 6 hours, then grind finely in a mortar and grind coarsely in a mortar. Combine the slurries into a thick batter and mixed well. Add approximately about 1 part of curd in a bowl and incubate overnight in a warm place at about 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. Green chilies and table salt is added to your taste. Add batter on a greasy plate and steam it in suitable pan. Cut into squares and season with coriander leaves, green chilies and mustard as you wish. And your dhokla is ready to serve. That's all from my side. Now Vikas will continue from here and explain about beer production.
About production of beer. The steps for production of beer are as followings. Step 1. Mailing the grain. Step 2. Mass conversion. Step 3. Lautering, and such as the boiling, wort separation and cooling, fermentation, maturation, filtration, carbonation and cellaring. For brewing industry, beer spoilage bacteria have been problematic for centuries. They include some lactic acid bacteria such as Lactobacillus brevis, Lactobacillus linneri and Pediococcus daemonosus, and some gram-negative bacteria such as Pectinatus cerevisiphilus, Pectinatus frisigensis and Megasphaera cerevisiae. They can spoil beer by turbidity, acidity and the production of unfavorable smell such as diacetyl or hydrogen sulfide. Beer is most consumed alcoholic beverage in the world. It is made most often of malted barley and malted wheat. Sometimes a mixture of starch sources can be used such as rice, unmalted maize can be added to the barley or wheat to the lower cost, potatoes, millet, and other foods high in starch are used in different places in the world as the primary carbohydrate source. Process of making beer is called brewing. It includes breaking the starch in the grains into a sugary liquid called wort, and fermenting the sugars in the wort into alcohol and carbon dioxide by yeast. Two main species are used in fermentation process. Saccharomyces cerevisiae, that is top fermenting since it forms foam on top of the wort, and Saccharomyces eubarum, that is bottom fermenting. Top fermenting yeasts are used to produce ale, while bottom fermenting produce lagers. The temperature used for top fermenting, that is 15 to 24 degrees Celsius, leads to the production of a lot of esters and flavor products that give beer a fruity taste. Hops are added to introduce a bitter taste and to serve as a preservative. Brewers' yeast are very rich in essential minerals and B vitamins. With the exceptions of vitamin B12, beer brewing in modern days is performed by added pure cultures of the desired yeast species to the wort. Additional yeast species that are used in making beer are Decara or Brettanomyces. After the fermentation is finished, the beer is cleared of the yeast by precipitation or with the use of clearing additives. Now the next slides will be taken on by Rishabh Bohra.
Now I'll be talking about another fermented base food product, which is sake. Sake, also referred to as Japanese rice wine, is an alcoholic beverage made by fermenting rice that has been polished to remove the bran. Despite the name Japanese rice wine, sake, and indeed any East Asian rice wine, is produced by a brewing process more akin to that of beer, where starch is converted into sugars which ferment into alcohol. Whereas in wine, alcohol is produced by fermenting sugar that is naturally present in fruit, typically grapes. The brewing process for sake differs from the process of beer, where the conversion from starch to sugar and then from sugar to alcohol occurs in two distinct steps. The fermentation of sake is a three-step process called sandan shikomi. First step, called hatsuzo, involves steamed rice, water, and koji being added to yeast starter called shubo, a mixture of steamed rice, water, koji, and yeast. This mixture becomes known as the moromi. On the second day, the mixture is allowed to stand for a day to allow the yeast to multiply. The second step, called nakazo, involves the addition of a second batch of koji, steamed rice, and water to the mixture. On the fourth day of the fermentation, the third step of the process, called Tomizo, takes place. Here, the third and final batch of koji, steamed rice, and water is added to the mixture to complete the three-step process. The fermentation of sake is a multiple parallel fermentation which is unique to sake. Multiple parallel fermentation is the conversion of starch into glucose, followed by an immediate conversion into alcohol. After the fermentation is complete, the fermented moromi is pressed to remove the sake lees and then pasteurized and filtered for color. The sake is then stored in bottles under cold conditions, and this entire process of making sake can range from 60 to 90 days, while the fermentation alone can take up to 2 weeks. Just like beer, sake is also microbiologically stable, and most microorganisms fail to grow in sake. This is principally due to its high ethanol concentration that reaches approximately 20% in undiluted sake products and 15% in finished products. Despite the high level of ethanol content, spoilage incidents occur in sake due to the high presence of highly ethanol tolerant lactobacilli, also known as Yoshi bacteria. Now I'll be talking about another fermented food product, soy sauce. Soy sauce is an East Asian liquid condiment of Chinese origin, traditionally made from fermented paste of soybeans, roasted grain, brine, and Aspergillus oryzae. It is considered to contain a strong umami flavor. Soy sauce is made either by fermentation or by hydrolysis. Some commercial sauces are both fermented and chemical sauces. Flavor, color, and aroma developments during production are attributed to non-enzymatic Maillard browning. Variation is usually achieved as a result of different methods and durations of fermentation, different ratios of water, salt, or fermented soy, or through the addition of other ingredients. There are two types of soy sauce: high salt liquid state fermented soy sauce and low salt solid state fermented soy sauce. LSF is preferred more than the HSF because the elevated temperature used in LSF, which is 40 to 55 degrees Celsius, accelerates the fermentation process significantly than the high HSF, which requires lower temperature from 15 to 30 degrees Celsius. Due to a short aging period of LSF and low production cost, LSF soy sauce accounts for more share of the Chinese soy sauce market. Salt is added to soy sauce as preservative to inhibit spoilage microorganisms. However, soy sauce can also be spoiled by salt-covering microorganisms called halophils. Halophils are microorganisms that require a certain amount of salt for their growth. These microorganisms are classified according to the amount of salt necessary for their growth, and these halophils cause spoilage during the processing of soy sauce.
Thank you, Rishabh. Now we have the injera production. Now, basically, injera is a traditional Ethiopian dish which is mainly fermented by Saccharomyces cerevisiae, Pichia fermentis, Pichia occidentalis, and Candida humilis. Now, as we can see in the production flow chart as well, that is the deerochidated sorghum flour or whole grain teff flour is mixed with water at first and is made for about 5 minutes, and then it is kept for fermentation for like 24 to 48 hours, and then it is mixed and cooked for around 45 degrees centigrade, and then it is added back to the fermenting dough and mixed well, and then again water and fermented batter is kept for 2 to 3 hours at room temperature for around 25 degrees centigrade until foams and bubbles appears, and then it is poured into a circular manner on a around 50 centimeter diameter hot clay griddle, and then it is removed by lifting it off from the hot griddle and sliding it over a straw mat, and therefore our injera is ready. Now, as my rest of the presenters have also discussed about the spoilage of different products that they have discussed, overall I can say that Pseudomonas sp and Lab rhizopus, they generally spoil the fermented foods. Now, proper sterilization can avoid chances of contaminations even after packaging if the products are kept at right temperature and humid condition. That will increase the shelf life of the product, and the chances of microbial actions can be also be inhibited. Now, I can conclude that despite of the conventional foods and beverages largely produced from cereals, there is a wide variety of products produced worldwide that is not receiving the scientific attention that they deserve. Now, these products are often fermented and have an improved shelf life, and also have nutritional properties in comparison with the raw materials used. The flora responsible for the fermentation in many cases indigenous and includes strains of lactic acid bacteria, yeast, and fungi. Singles of mixed cereals, sometimes mixed with other pulses, are used to get the final texture, and similar fermentation procedures have been used nowadays to develop new food with enhanced health properties, which is trend likely to continue in the future. So we are at the end of our presentation with this hope that we will be able to get more and more variety of cereal based fermented products, which will not only be easy to make, also will have a great nutritional value. Thank you.